I'm here to tell you about the story of Culatra, a story of resilience, and how one of the poorest communities in Europe, together with Rapes in the end of the 20th century, has become today one of the first renewable energy communities in Portugal, a pilot project for the Portuguese energy regulator, and one of the few that is managed by local residents. So a bottom-up, completely different approach. And the funny part is that cooperative that is now ruling this renewable energy community is all young entrepreneurs from oyster farming. Okay, so just to situate Culatra, I don't know if you know the Algarve and the Rio Formosa, but this is a barrier island located in the Rio Formosa. Rio Formosa is one of the most important wetlands in Europe. So it's home and nursery for a lot of different species. You probably heard about seahorse, but most of the fish that we fish on the Atlantic coast comes from the nursery of Rio Formosa. So this is just to show the importance. So it has other activities, tourism, salt farming, etc. And we are talking about a community that was living in this area for more than 200 years. Okay, so living from sea resources. Okay, we are going to start this talk uh, reflecting of what is the concept of sustainable development. So we have been hearing this since Rio de Janeiro conference. It was the first international conference related to sustainable development in 1992. Okay, and after that we have a lot of different frameworks towards sustainable development. So we know we have today the Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17 objectives towards sustainable development. We have the Agenda 2030, we have the Green Deal. We have a lot of different tools to help communities to achieve, countries to achieve coastal development. But most of these frameworks, they don't work because they are not anchored on real people, real families, real communities. So let's take the example of Portugal. Okay, we are a sea country. So people, our tourism, which is now our main economic activity, is anchored in the fact that the people come here to visit our coastline. They don't want to see concrete coastlines. They don't want to see abandoned fishing village. They, want, they don't want to sit on the restaurant and eat fish that is fished in another place, okay? So if we not put our sustainability of our country in on the right track, this is precisely what is going to happen, okay? So this is, I think, is quite important to retain this because coastal communities like Culatra, but Nazaré, Angeiras, Sesimbra, are a cultural heritage of our country. So they are very important in terms of social cohesion because we are a country of fishermen, okay? And this is our identity. We can change that identity, but I don't think it's sustainable to do it, okay? Sea level is rising, you know that. So coastal communities are in the front line of climate change. So you have the intense extreme storms, like, for example, I brought here two examples. One of the first world, Katrina, United States. So you had this huge storm surge, big storm, and inundation of all area of New Orleans. And also we had Bangladesh, which is a state that is going to disappear if nothing is done worldwide. So this is just to show this is not a problem of the first or the third world. This is a problem of humanity, okay? And to build this resilience in coastlines, or in coastal communities, we need new roadmaps. So we have to innovate on fishing, in aquaculture, to produce food, very important, to secure food for the future generations, okay? Because sustainable development is to make the best use of resources today to improve our life quality, but without compromising the future generations. So we need new circular models that help us to achieve this. And it's not easy because we are used to consumption. We are not used to recycling and to reuse. So this is something that we have to change, okay? So let me take you now to Culatra, which is a fisherman village. The people settled there in this particular island to fish for sardines and tuna So they start to occupy, and they live in wooden houses. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have basic sanitation. There was no waste collection. So there was no healthcare. There was no schools. So imagine, and there was no motorboats also. They were sailing to shore, and it takes 2 hours to do a nautical mile to arrive to Olhão city, which was the closest city nearby. But they live from the sea. So, and in 1987, this area is declared natural park, and they are considered illegal, and the government wants to destroy their houses. So imagine, you have almost anything, and suddenly the government says that you need to leave. What they did, they stayed, and they start to boycott all the elections, okay? So there was specific riots against the elections. For example, when there was an emergency problem and the healthcare didn't arrive in time, they built an heliport in 24 hours, which was considered an environmental crime. And when the police came to arrest the president of the Residents Association, all the community say, take me, it was me. So this is just to show that it was their advocacy that made possible their development, okay? And it was their persistence that got them electricity in 1992, basic sanitation in 2010, a school, social center, waste collection, of course, and now the fact that they have the university backing them up. Because in 2018, they were recognized by the Portuguese government, by all the parties of assembly, this is quite impressive, that voted for a special status to preserve the Culatra community as a heritage to protect. So this is the only territory in Portugal where outsiders cannot buy land, okay? But the people there, the fishermen, cannot sell their property also. They have a 30 years license, and after that, they only can pass to the descendants if the descendants prove they live from the sea economy. So this maintains the identity of the economy, which is the fundamental pillar for their sustainability in the future. But in order to do that, we applied for a program, which was the Clean Energy for All European Islands program from the European Commission, and Culatra was one of the 6 pilots to be approved to create a framework for decarbonizing the island and towards sustainability. So we had to do a participatory process without any money, because we were selected by the Commission, but they didn't give us any money. So we started to invite people from the community to talk with researchers, public administration, companies, and to create a roadmap towards the 2030 to make them completely autonomous in terms of energy production and distribution, okay? But also having other pillars, okay, like water, waste, fighting energy poverty, etc., so that they could have an advantage as fishermen to continue to live from the sea without worrying that 50% of their income goes to energy issues like petrol, fuel, to have their house climatized, etc. Okay? And the fact that we did this without any money gave us a plan to follow, and then we raised until now 2 million euros for this plan, with piecing different funds from EA grants, Interreg, FEDER funds, participatory budgets, FCT projects, because there's a lot of research involved. And we are able to build, until now, 5 PV solar production units that can produce 30% of their energy needs during the daytime. And we got approved now a new project that will allow to reach 85% until the end of 2027. So daily energy times needs to match the consumption to the generation patterns, okay? So that we don't have exceeding energy. Although we have also a lithium battery system there that can sustain all the fishing activities and the fridges, the ice-making machines during the night. So they have an advantage compared to all other coastal communities, okay? We also got funding to create this solar electric boat so that the young entrepreneurs of the oyster farming can transport their production to shore every week. This is exported to France and to United States, okay? Huge market, all by them, okay, without any intermediate, and they are able to do this carbon neutral, okay? We are also looking into new forms of circular economy using the fishing nets and the oyster shells powered to extrude plastic and mix it to make a compound for 3D printing, okay, that can be used to print almost anything, or with the Technical Institute of Lisbon to produce these bricks and materials for civil construction using oyster shells, which is a waste on the production, because sometimes they have 80% of mortality of oyster production in the island, okay? All the energy that is being produced in the island at the moment is going to be shared towards the community. So we are installing smart meters in all the houses, IoT sensors, so that we can build a digital twin to distribute this energy and also to create income for the cooperative. So the idea is simple. Part of the money of the energy they consume stays on the island in the cooperative. It's not paid for big companies. And they can invest to increase their autonomy, okay? And they can also invest on scholarships or in new sports infrastructures, on better healthcare, whatever, okay? But the fact that they control their energy system gives them power. And I think that something like this can be done anywhere, especially in the interior part of Portugal, where we have a lot of people going out, so there's no opportunities. The houses are too expensive for younger people. So I think that the fact that now in the law you can build a renewable energy community and you can produce and distribute your own energy gives you a lot of power that you should use. I hope that this history of Culatra inspires you, because it's not about technology, it's not about money, it's about to have a plan, put it in practice, hearing all parties. And this is what is democratization of the energy systems. Thank you for your attention.